Yep, you're good.
Okay.
So, yeah, thank you guys all for joining us tonight, and thank you, Dave, for being willing to go through this with everybody. Tonight we are recording this, so if you if you miss anything, if you have to leave early, or if you have any friends or teammates that think would want to hear this, we will be sending out this recording after we're finished. So this is one of what we're planning on, at least 4 different discussions relating to youth baseball. This discussion is focused on the importance of winter training for overall baseball development. So Dave Gallagher has been an amazing addition to our team at Centercourt. He serves as a senior advisor for us. His background and experience in the game of baseball speaks for itself, and we're honored and thrilled to have him on our team. And he is excited to kind of speak with you all over the next several months about some various aspects of baseball development, youth baseball, the experience, different stages to be aware of as a parent and as a player. So stay tuned for more, but looking forward to hearing what Dave has to say this evening about the importance of winter training and some different opportunities that as a player and parent you should be looking out for as we get started. So if you can, please stay muted throughout. Let Dave kind of run through his presentation, and he'll save 15 or so minutes, 10-15 minutes at the end of the presentation for questions. You can throw any questions you have in the chat along the way, and Dave will address those at the end. So thank you all again, and Dave, I'll turn it over to you, buddy.
Hey guys, Matt, thank you very much. I just had to run and turn my thermostat so I could hear. But listen, guys, we'll have some fun with this tonight. And Matt, I appreciate everything that you do over there at Centercourt. Matt will not speak about himself, but I'll do a little bit of that for him. He's a relatively young guy, a hell of a lot younger than me, and to be the COO of a company that is involved with the development of kids. I think he enjoys what he does, and he's very sincere in what he does. I've now been here for several months as the senior advisor, like Matt said, and I really enjoy the professionalism with Matt, but also all of the staff members that I've met. And I look forward to this continued relationship. So the idea tonight was, it's not instruction. It certainly isn't instruction. You're getting a lot of that from, I'm sure, whatever programs that you're at in the facilities that you are at, including all the people that are checking in right now from the Centercourt Makos. I'll mention, my drive to do this 4-part series was just to get the information that's inside of my head out to people who can use it, whether it's a parent that's listening in, or it's a player, or it's a coach. So I never feel like I'm talking down to anybody, because I don't, but I've been fortunate to be a player at every level and also a coach at every level. So I've been around some of the best teachers of the game, and I'll give myself credit and pat myself on the back for just a little bit, and that is retaining the knowledge that I've been given. We'll talk a little bit about how important passion is, but the goal for tonight was to talk a little bit about how to best utilize your winter training. So I'll just name the 4 series events that we have. The one tonight, everything is kind of, it's aimed to be scheduled to when you can use it best. So obviously tonight, everyone is probably winding down with their rest period, their shutdown period, and you're starting to think about, some of you probably have already started doing some off-season work, but the rest of you might roll into it after the first of the year. So this will be our December webinar, but in January, the name of that one will be Navigating the College Recruiting Process. That'll probably be mid-January. Everybody that is registered here will receive a notice of when that actual date will be, and you'll get that link sent to you. In February, the name of the webinar will be, how does a coach assess me as an athlete? So the college recruiting process, we're going to put that into January. You still have time. The older players, obviously, it won't pertain to the younger ones. That'll be more the older kids and their parents trying to figure out and navigate their way through how to move on to that next level and everything that's involved. And that, boy, has that changed in the last couple of years. But then in February, how does a coach assess me? So when you get into February, you're starting to look at getting outside with your teams, tryouts. The high school level starts in March, where you show up for your tryouts and then you get ready for the season. So having been on both sides as a player, but then on the other side of the fence as a coach, and even on a professional level, sitting in meetings and talking about how players are evaluated, I think that can be valuable information. And you might be surprised on what we talk about, those subtopics. And then the final one will be in March. And that one, the topic name will be the parents' role in youth development. And I really look forward to that. I'm a parent of 5 kids, now 3 grandkids. And I will not be telling you everything that I did perfect or I did right. We're telling you how to parent. I'm just basically going to tell the truth as to what I've seen as the head of an organization for a number of years with Gallagher Baseball, and also as a player, how I've reacted to certain things that parents have done. So we'll have fun with it. But back to tonight then. So the first topic for tonight is efficient winter training for baseball development. What gives me the ability to talk about this? Well, I started playing baseball at 7 years old, and I played straight through until I was 36. So again, I'll say I played at every level, and it's been trial and error of what works and what doesn't work. I know I have a very strong work ethic. I always did. I wasn't always the best player in every age bracket that I was in. I know I had to work very hard. I was never afraid to work. And my work in the off season basically gave me maybe a sense of calm. When you're prepared, I think you're calm. So regardless of what age is listening in, a parent, it could be a parent of an 8-year-old, or it could be an 8-year-old himself. It could be a college player that's listening in. This all pertains to everybody, how you go about your work. Of course, what you do will vary according to the age that you are. Shutdown period. I think that's extremely important, both physically and mentally, to be able to shut down. Now, growing up for me, multiple sports was common. And I would hope that it's still common. I hope that we as the adults are not getting in the way of kids playing multiple sports. I know that I certainly would not. I encourage it. I think it's good for you. But for any kid that maybe just likes baseball, you still need a shutdown period. Physically, your body needs to catch up. But I think more than physical, mentally, you got to walk away from the game. And it just depends how your baseball life is going. So if it's ending at the end of October, the end of your fall season, then most likely you're dropping your bat and glove, I hope, at the beginning of November. And it will not take long for you to start to miss the game. Missing the game is really important. It's a thinking person's game, no doubt about it. It's a grind, right? To play long seasons, to start with winter training and then go spring, summer, fall. All the emotional roller coaster that's involved, the ups and the downs, and all of the failure that you have to deal with. And at times you come home and you might say, I don't even like this game anymore. But then you get 3 hits the next day and you love the game. So that's that mental strain. My entire career, I needed to stop at some point and walk away. And amazingly, it would take about 2 weeks and I'd start to miss the game. But I mean the entire game. I mean the practices, my friends that I have on a baseball field in the dugout. And then when I did return back to the game and the practices, I couldn't wait to go. I looked forward to it. So I think we do have to be careful nowadays with all of the opportunities and the teams that the kids can play on. They can be on multiple teams, rec teams, travel teams, school teams, that if we overdo it, you start to see maybe a little bit less passion in the kid himself. And I think passion is extremely important. We will obviously get into that. If you see me looking down, it's the legal pad, because anybody that knows me out there, you know I like to talk. So I want to look down and kind of stay on point to make sure I cover everything that I had written down. Why does passion matter? This is for all of you, all of the players out there. I think you can like something, and then I think you can love something. And we, as the adults, the parents, the coaches, we can't shove passion down your throat and make you love something. So using myself as an example, when I was very young, up until maybe the age of 14 or 15, I would say I loved soccer and baseball. I loved all competition, but I really loved soccer and baseball. And I don't know what I would have said I enjoyed more if you'd asked me back then. And then I just started to see classmates, teammates start to pass me in soccer. So it became that I liked it during the soccer season, but I never stopped my love of baseball. And here's where I think it's different. When you love something, it doesn't pain you to work at it, to practice. Parents out there, if you find yourself having to tell your son or your daughter to go practice or go get some work in on their own, they're probably not very passionate about the sport. And that doesn't make them a bad kid. It just means, like I said, we can't shove that down their throat. You will know. You probably already know right now whether your son is passionate about baseball or he just likes it. You can tell by his actions. Is he asking you, can I go to a clinic? Can I go to train? Can I go for fielding, for hitting, for pitching? If he's asking you, he's probably got some passion for the game. If you're constantly having to say to him, when's your next practice? Or why aren't you hitting downstairs in the basement? That's probably not a good thing. Reps. Okay, now we're talking about actually getting into your training, your repetitions, and that's in all phases of the game. I see a lot of young athletes now, so we're talking baseball here, a lot of young athletes, they only focus on hitting, obviously, if they're a position player. And they neglect their fielding, they neglect base running, they neglect their strength, they neglect all of the other phases of the game. And they're told, well, if you hit, you'll be in the lineup. But if your goal is just to be in the lineup, then I think you're selling yourself short, right? If that's your long-term goal, is just to be in a starting lineup. I've coached, like I said, coached at every level, and I've coached kids who could rake at the plate, but they would be a DH or they would get pinch hit for late for defense because they had a hard time finding a position on the field. So I would encourage you to understand that repetitions equal consistency, it equals confidence, but try to do it in every phase of the game. Be realistic, right? Set some goals. When you're going to start, if it's after the first of the year, what are you going to do? Are you going to attend clinics? Are you going to hit? Are you going to hit on your own? Are you going to field on your own? What can you get done at home as well as whatever facility you're working out at? These are things you have to start to ask yourself. I'm a big believer in emotions and how it can affect your game. So I don't think there is any emotion that is good for an athletic performance. I don't. I mean, not in baseball. Maybe in football, and football players could tell me that, because I just don't know. I didn't play football. But I'm thinking football is physical, like a lot of it. I know it's a thinking man's game also, but baseball, you have to be able to apply. So So if we are doing our winter workouts and we're doing the reps to build our confidence, we're creating the swing that we want. We're creating fielding ground balls, our routine ground balls, our footwork, our rhythm, the accuracy of our throws, pitchers. I'm never a pitching guy, but you're developing feel of certain pitchers. Your pitching coaches are working you up and ramping you up for the beginning of the season. You're not coming and throwing lights out in day one in January. Listen to these coaches, right? But I think you can eliminate some of the emotions and the emotional roller coaster that you will have to deal with during the season by what you accomplish in the off season. Okay, I'll give you an example. I'll share an example of when I was in the major leagues. I was in Boston. I was at Fenway Park, and the inning had started. I was the second batter of the inning. And it wasn't my rookie year. I had several years in already. For some reason, I'm on the on-deck circle, and I just got ultra nervous. Like I got this anxiety that came over me out of nowhere. I've never had that happen to me before at any level. And if you were at the game 3 rows away from me, you would have never known it because I was hiding it. But I had a hard time swinging the bat in the on-deck circle. And I remember saying to myself, whoever was hitting in front of me, I hope this at bat lasts a while, just to let me gather myself. And what I did is I reverted back to my practice habits. That's what I was telling myself right then and there. 32,000 people there in Boston. They fill that place all the time. Millions watching on TV. And I'm telling myself, you know how to keep your head down. Don't jump at the ball. You know how to hit a ball through the middle. And I'm not saying that I can do it every at bat, but I knew how. I practiced it, and that's what I leaned on. I took the emotions out, what I was going through, and I simply went up and I performed. Now, that's relative to whatever age you are. So if it's a 9-year-old, the pressures that 9-year-old might feel could simply be his parents are at the game, maybe his grandparents are at the game, maybe his brother is at the game, and he's got all his friends that he has to see in school, the same with high school players. So it doesn't have to be the number of people watching you perform. It's none of us like to fail and be humiliated and embarrassed, and sometimes that enters into the picture. So this is real, what I'm telling you. It's real about performance on an advanced level. So even the younger kids that are going to work their way up and become the older players that you hopefully are still playing in high school, you hopefully are still playing in college, and for a select few, maybe beyond that, maybe in pro ball. I think that the repetitions, they help with that. And you got to make sure when you're getting your work in, it's not just time. Well, I hit 3 hours a week. That doesn't make you better than someone who doesn't if you're not getting anything out of it. So make sure you're hitting, you're fielding, you're pitching, any kind of training you're doing, that you're doing it with a purpose. You're creating habit. So years ago, some of the adults that are on this probably could agree with me. Years ago, there used to be the talk of muscle memory for athletes. Muscle memory, you do something over and over again, your muscle will remember it. And then, people a lot smarter than me came out and said, no, that's impossible. Your muscles don't have brain matter and they don't think. But then there were studies done. So it was kind of like this cycle. And maybe 20, 25 years ago, maybe a little more than that, that studies showed that there actually is muscle memory, that your brain sends messages to the certain muscles, the different muscles that you're working through neurons. There you go. There's my big word for the evening. And I felt really good about that. All of that work, all the repetitions I put in actually had some meaning. So if I want to hit a ball to the opposite field and I practice that and I start to feel what is happening to make this work, that if I do it enough, I can create a habit. And then I can play through any emotion when I'm trying to perform. I hope that, makes some sense to everybody out there. Okay. The off season is a great time to study your body. What I mean is, in the mechanics of your actions, what you do when you're hitting, what you do with your feet when you're fielding, your hands. Okay, study it, because you don't want to be studying it in season during a game. It just fouls up your thought process. You want to become an athlete, right? You want to just act naturally with athleticism, and hopefully you've learned enough about your body that your adjustments become small and they can become pitch to pitch. Okay, so I'll tell you a story. Now I'm putting myself down where I failed, and I'm going to give that to you so that hopefully you don't fail the way I did. I relied on athleticism, being very fast, and being pretty good as a baseball player when I was very young. So I did really good through Little League, and I got to walk around with my head up high. And then I get to Babe Ruth League, and I did really good in Babe Ruth, and I did really good in Legion, and I did really good in high school. And I actually did really good in college. And then I get to pro ball, and I started, wow, I'm facing good pitching, good defense, and I'm struggling. And my college coach came out to see me, and we went out for dinner. And he says, David, why did you change your swing? I said, Coach, I didn't realize that I changed my swing. I had forgotten how I hit the ball my whole life, because I never paid attention to it. I never experienced enough failure to have to take a look at it. And I made him stand up at this restaurant in Batavia, New York. And I said, Butch, you have to show me. How did I hold the bat? What did I do with my hands? What did I use for rhythm, for my load? And he stood there and he showed me everything. And I vowed to myself, when I go home in the off season, because I can't do it now, I'm in season. But when I go home, this will never happen to me again. I will know my swing. I will know my mechanics better than anybody on the planet, because it's my career. It's not theirs. So I'm encouraging parents, young players, right up through older players, coaches too. It's how we got to coach. We've got to coach the kids to take responsibility for themselves. So a lot of times, like I used to run this league that had 30 teams, and I enjoyed it. I'd be in a golf cart riding around during the games, and I could sometimes sit in the middle of the complex and see 4 games that were going on all around me. And sometimes I would just listen to what I would hear. And I would see a poor 11-year-old kid get into the batter's box and take one swing, and the third base coach would yell something that he was doing wrong. The manager would yell from the dugout something he was doing wrong. His dad would yell something from the center field fence what he was doing wrong. And I thought, wow, how much fun is he having? Like, who is he going to please there? 3 people are telling what he did wrong. But here's the scarier part of it. If we're constantly going to tell the kids what they're doing wrong and how to fix it, they shut down. And they do. And they're not developing a much needed skill. Ask any college coach if he allows parents to yell out instruction, or high school coach even, to yell out instruction to their kid. You're not going to like the answer. They don't. Your kid won't play if you do that. So it's extremely valuable. It's going to take a lot of patience for you to simply ask the question instead of telling the answer. If it's a training session, hitting, pitching, again, I'm not a pitching guy. You have to go to somebody that's much more qualified than me. But the process would be the same. You take a swing and you don't like the results. For me, when I used to give instruction, I haven't in about 5 years, I wouldn't say a word. I'm throwing the next pitch. Same exact result. I don't say a word. Next pitch. 3 or 4 in a row of the exact same mistake with no adjustment is telling me either the hitter doesn't know what the mistake is and how to adjust, or he doesn't care. Because the best clue you have is the result. If a ball goes up off of your bat to the right side of the field in foul territory, common sense tells me I'm under and I'm late. I would think that's common sense to everybody. Well, if I'm under and I'm late, my adjustment, I'm simplifying things, would be get a little more on top and a little bit earlier with the barrel. All right, so I think your training, again, when I go back to what are you accomplishing through the winter, you have to study your swing. In fact, sometimes it's good to have the guidance of a trainer, of a coach. Sometimes it's okay to be alone. Take what the trainer, the coach is teaching you in your sessions at your organization, in your indoor facility or clinics, but then work on it at home. I mean, mirror swings. You don't even really need a bat in your hand sometimes, but a tee in your basement or your garage with a drop down net, tennis balls. You're going to start to teach yourself what causes top spin to the pull side. Well, my top hand is rolling too early. So for younger players out there, I don't expect them to know that. But if you're 14, 15 or above, you need to know what causes a mistake, because then you're relying on yourself. Is there anything more you want out of life in any category? Baseball, finances, you want to make the final decision that's going to determine how far you get. All right, so I hope I've made my point clear on that. Studying your body. If you have no clue, it's okay. Find people who can help you. I'm just speaking on behalf of Centercourt, but I've met the staff. Very impressive guys who have passion, but also have done it. To do it at a high level. And to me, high level can be through high school into college, so that you've experienced, what to tell a 10, 11-year-old, so that he's not just good as a little leaguer, but what he doesn't know what lies ahead that this same player is going to face at the high school and college level. Whereas that trainer who's teaching you has that in mind. He's not just trying to give you information to help you get through that age bracket. You think about a little leaguer who might be a little bit physically more mature. He's oversized, he's strong. Are you really doing him a favor if you tell him, get on top of the plate? Because the pitcher can't exploit the weakness you might have from trying to pull everything, but he helps the team because he hits bombs. He's stronger than everybody in the league. And then when he's 15 and the pitchers discover he's vulnerable with anything off speed or away, now that hitter, he's never been trained to deal with that. And all of a sudden he's not playing baseball anymore. So a lot of this you can handle yourself in the offseason. Tee work, right? All progressive type drills. Dry swings, you can do that anywhere. You can have a sweatshirt on and do it in your driveway. Okay, dry swing is just simply swinging the bat, but learn to feel a swing that feels good, a swing that does not feel good. Okay, and then progressive drills, side soft toss. Now there's movement on the ball. Obviously, a tee would be in between, and then front soft toss, then batting practice, right? Progressive. That's taking ownership of your career. I cannot emphasize that enough. Everybody, including myself, I taught my kids the same thing. I am just your helper. This is your life, your career. I will help you if you need it. And I help my kids all the time. You know, the conversations on the way home or the next day, I knew I could be helpful. And I would always help them. But most of the time, I'm saying, what did you feel? Not, here's what you did wrong. Here's how to fix it. I know those answers because I did it my whole life. I failed more than probably everybody on this phone call collectively, right? I've done a lot of failing. And that has forced me to take a look at it. So I think that's the better way to go about it is, instead of saying, son, you're pulling your head, you're rolling your top hand, you're dropping your shoulder, you're jumping too hard to the front side. Why did you swing at that pitch? Instead, ask the question, right? What are you feeling at the plate right now? They will shock you with the answer. But if their answer is, I don't know, they're disgusted, they're frustrated, don't accept that as an answer. And for you players out there, it's not a good enough answer, right? It's simply like, no, you will know the answer. You just have to slow down and think about what just happened. Whether it's batting practice or it's you're talking to your coach or your dad about a game. I popped up all 4 times up. What at bat were you going to make an adjustment and make a different kind of out? Shouldn't be 4 of the same outs in a game. Adjust. If you go for 4, but it was a pop up, then you got on top and hit a line drive and the third baseman caught it. Well, hallelujah. You made an adjustment. You can't control the fact that a third baseman was standing in that spot and he made a nice play. But I think I made my point there. All right. Let me take a sip of water before I lose my voice. Okay. What does it mean to self-correct? Anybody that's ever been around me knows that that's always been important to me. And again, this goes back to what we just talked about, utilizing your off season to study every part of your game. Okay. So think about in reality, you train all off season, you get to the spring, and now the season's about to start. Here's a realistic at bat. You walk up to the plate. Let's use the name of Joe Smith. Joe Smith walks up to the plate. Before he gets up there, he's feeling good. He's seen the pitcher's average speed. Joe's a pretty good player, and he's hoping that this kid throws a pitch near the strike zone on the first pitch. He's going up there aggressive. And here comes the pitch. It's near the plate, and Joe smokes it. But it hooks, and it's foul by about 30 feet. Now, I can tell you that he probably either got out around the ball, his hands got out away from his body, and he hooked it. But he certainly came over the top a little bit too early with his top hand. That's creating the hook and the top spin to make it dive. That's what it's doing. That's a correction with your hand position. Okay. Now, what you're hearing right now is a 61-year-old guy who played baseball from 7 to 36 and then stayed in the game as a coach after. That's experience. We can't expect 9-year-olds, 10-year-olds, 11-year-olds to know that kind of a correction just based on a description. But it has to start somewhere. It can start at 8 or 9. It's a sense of calmness when they go to hit. It might just be 2 or 3 little things that you talk to them about, right? Or that the player himself is controlling on that day. If I'm young, I'm starting with balance and head position. If I learn that my head is important to stay down until I'm, pretty much it's been proven, until I almost am at contact, then there's a good chance that I'm going to put the sweet spot of the bat on the ball. Okay. And if I'm balanced, I'm probably going to make some pretty good contact. So that's a pretty good start. And then it just gets more and more intense and advanced as you're getting older because you're facing pitchers who know how to get you out in different ways. So I'll move on from that. So coaches and parents, please do not do the thinking for the athlete. Okay. I have a feeling that all of you, I did it. I know I did it. My kids taught me so much when they were young. Thankfully, they taught me when they were young as to how they respond. And I remember my oldest boy, this is how long ago this was. He's 36, I think now, 35 or 36. When he was 9, he was in my batting cage at my house. And he used to go in and watch my lessons, and then he would help pick up the balls. And his reward was at the end of the night, Dad, can you pitch me some? I'm not going to say no. As tired as I was, I'm not going to say no to my son who just stayed out there for hours. And one day he got frustrated. This is a good kid who never said a word. And he put his head down and I said, Evan, I don't understand. What was that look for? And he mumbled. I had to ask him to repeat it. He mumbled, you do it different with me than you do with other people. And I said, explain to me what you mean. I'm listening. And he said, you never roll your eyes with the other kids. Ooh, that hit me because he was right. He was right. I didn't raise my voice or yell. What I would do is I'd throw a pitch. He pops it up. I throw a pitch, he pops it up. I'd say, Ev, you're underneath, make a correction. And I throw it and he pops it up. And I would say, do you want to hit or do you want to go in the house? That's just so unfair. But there's probably a lot of dads out there that are laughing right now because you do it too. And then it hit me like, how stupid am I? How unfair is that I would show so much patience to other people's children, but not my own son? And I changed that day. And I said to him, I will only get on you if I don't see effort, but I will be much more patient. And that helped our relationship. Another thing that I will say before I forget that, and before I move on to the next point, is ask your kids. I'm saying parents, but even if it's the kids that are listening, and ask your parents, if they don't mind. We're going to all agree right now that a parent can help your child, because you're going to be looking at your child in their athletic events different than everybody else does. You're seeing everything about them because you're locked in on them. You locked in as they hit, as they field, as they pitch, as they're on the bases. Nobody else's parent is locked in on your kid. They're waiting for their own kid. Okay, so you're going to know their body language when they're confident, their body language when they have zero confidence. So you can be helpful to your child. Personalities, though, are all different. So I have 5 kids, 3 played advanced competitive sports. I ended up making a pact with my children. I asked them each individually if we would agree that I can help you after the games, that I can help you with some constructive criticism. They all agreed. Okay, then I'm giving you a choice. Would you like to talk about the game right after the game on the way home? Or would you prefer to wait to the next day? And I was surprised that my shy son, who doesn't say 2 words, he wanted to wait until the next day. I thought he would be fine with right after the game. My other son, who was ball of energy, with a temper, by the way, it took years for him to get past that. He wanted to get it over with. No, I can't wait till the next day. It's got to be after the game. But it was a deal. And I said, you can't change your mind. If you had an 0 for 5 and you struck out 3 times, I don't want to talk. We're going to have a conversation. I'm not going to yell at you. We're just going to talk, and that's how you're going to learn. And I would say that worked very well. I would offer that for you guys. I think it helps with your long-term relationship. And that's probably more important than anything we can talk about right now, is your relationship with your kid. Okay. I'm going to take a couple of questions that I've been fed here. I won't take them all. I'll take a few. And then I'll get back onto some of these drills and other topics, subtopics. Another sip of water here. Oh, this is a good question. Here's this first one. So glad somebody asked this question. How does my son deal with different hitting methods taught by coaches / trainers? Great question. I never thought about this until about 10 years ago in my organization, in Gallagher Baseball. A parent came up to me, very nice parent, and a son who was a very nice young man and had some athletic talent. He now lives in Georgia, and he's become a left-handed pitcher, and wow, he looks good. But the mom came up to me and asked me, my son is confused. His coach of his team is talking to him about hitting a certain way, but then when he comes in for hitting lessons, the coach doing hitting lessons, which is a different coach, is telling him different. And this young man was respectful. So he didn't want to say anything. He didn't want to say, well, coach, this coach is telling me this coach. That's fantastic that happened, because it allowed me to talk to my coaches. I've always believed that the kids, they've got to be the priority. The athlete has to be the priority. We as the adults, we got to do our talking behind closed doors, away from the kids. They should never wake up and have that feeling of, what do I have to do to please my coach? We got to keep them shielded from that. So to me, I can talk to the older players on this call and the adults and say, it's okay to have different ways of teaching, different methods of teaching, because you wouldn't teach it if you didn't thoroughly believe that you were correct. I would encourage everybody to be open-minded, as I have had to be and want to be, really. I had 7 different hitting coaches at the highest level, at the major league level. And of course I wanted to please each one of them, because I've tried to make a team and then stay on the team. It's how I made a living. But you would not believe how different each one of them were from each other. And I mean extremes. And sometimes I'd go back to my hotel and I'd think, man, this is frustrating. I'm failing doing it somebody else's way. So back to the youth level, I would say coaches, dads, right? Anybody who's going to advise the kids, have an open, honest, communicative relationship with the coaches and the trainers. Any coach worth his salt knows that the kid has to be number one. And any coach that's putting down another coach who he doesn't even know and saying, oh, don't listen to what that guy says, he lacks in self-confidence. I've had a lot of people say that about me back in the day when I was doing lessons. Somebody I never met would say, oh, you worked with Gallagher? Now I got to change your whole swing. I would just laugh and say, you don't even know me. You don't even know what I teach. I was always extremely open-minded. And I believe that that's how hitting should be. I think people get it done in different ways. There are common basics, of course, but I think the best thing you can teach a hitter, somebody who has passion and work ethic, is teach them all the things that a pitcher is going to do to get him out. And as all of you know, that changes as that player gets older. So again, I'll go back to, if you're talking to a 10-year-old or 11-year-old, don't just teach him things that are going to help him be a good little league player. Understand that someday, if he's good enough and he works hard enough and wants to do it enough, he's going to face pitchers that throw several different pitches that are all disguised to look like a fastball. The same arm speed, the same rotation on the ball. Your eyes and your brain are saying, this is a fastball. Whoops, it's not. So you have to learn different things. And once a hitter has that information at any age, he starts to work differently. There we go back to what you can accomplish with all these repetitions. If I know that, oh, someday a pitcher's going to throw a pitch that it could be mid-80s or above, or it could be a changeup. How do I deal with that? You got to learn to stay back. How do I stay back? I got to learn to hit a ball the other way. How do I hit a ball the other way? Well, when I make contact, the barrel has to be behind my hands. How do I make that happen? Let me get to work. Let me do some mirror swings, dry swings, tee work, front soft toss, hitting balls the other way, getting to the point where I'm so confident at doing it that I can apply it in a game under pressure. All right. I might have got too deep right there. Another question. How do I control the number of pitches my son throws for his team? Ooh, that's a tough one, and it's not getting any easier. Let's say this. First of all, I'm not a doctor, but I would say that the kids who I think are most vulnerable for getting injuries are the kids who have the best arms. Partly a guess, but I think I can give you some real facts as to why they move their arm faster than everybody else, right? There's more stress that's being put on their elbow, on their shoulder. But here's what's a shame, is because they have a really good arm and throw the ball harder than most of the other kids, they are used to pitch by everybody. So that's something that the parents can control a little bit. If your son is playing travel ball, maybe that's enough. All right. Or does it have to be rec, travel, and middle school or end school, or two travel, or he has an open weekend? Let me get him in another tournament because God forbid he has a weekend off. Sometimes we're doing it ourselves. We're adding to the problem. And I don't think anybody should be coaching youth baseball if they exploit a kid because he has a good arm to win a plastic trophy. That would be a damn shame. So good question. I'll take one more question and then I'll move on. to a couple of different things here. Let's see. My son has trouble staying back. Any drills? Wow. This is something that hits me in my heart, because that was something I dealt with most of my life, jumping at pitches. And the problem is I got away with it when I was young. When I got to professional baseball, it became devastating, because I was actually taking my head and my weight forward several inches, probably 6-7 inches, sliding my head forward, wanting to go get the ball. And now I'm actually cutting into the time, the decision-making time that I have, because I'm getting closer to the ball that's coming towards me. So talk about not knowing the difference between one type of pitch and another. And it started to catch up to me when I got older and pitchers had different pitches. So the discipline that you learn when you're very young and then you create a habit out of starts to help you as you get older. Something that helped me, and it was a field drill. I would get on an indoor mound. Could be an outdoor mound too. I take my bat with me, and I would stand at the bottom of the mound, and I would stride uphill, up the ramp. I would not take a swing. I'd load my hands and step uphill. And all I wanted to do was feel, what does it feel like to feel loaded on my back leg, my back hip, and not have all of the weight get off of it and go hard to the front side. And it was a confidence builder for me. I would do that several times. Then I would step off, get on the flat ground, try to imitate that feeling, and then go hit. In fact, in Philadelphia at Old Veterans Stadium, when I played for the Phillies, they had a ramp going from the dugout up into the locker room. And before at bats, I would go to that ramp and I'd stride uphill a couple times, and then boom, take that right to the on-deck circle, right into the batter's box. Good question. So let me get back now to a couple of more topics here. Let's see here. Okay, a couple of drills, maybe advanced drills. One's a very basic one that I always liked, timing drill. So think about timing for a second. Timing is just, it pertains to the level that you're at. So for hitting, there's always an average speed. There's an average speed for Little League. Some of you dads, think about when you played Little League. You could probably tell me right now 5 pitchers that threw average speed, and then you could probably give me 2 that you went, oh no. For me, I could think of 2 from my Little League days. Billy Banks, red hair, threw hard. He threw hard. Now I knew when we were playing, if he was pitching, I knew that day, oh, this is going to be a tough one. This is going to be a tough one. And what was worse is he didn't have much control. And then there was a guy from Chambersburg, Marty Filipponi, who was huge. And if you could hit a ground out, you felt like you were doing better than everybody else. But so my point is there's average speed, and that's what you're gauging your timing off, because you're seeing more of average than you are of anything else. Then there's slow. What do I do on slow? I start a little bit or later. Oh, and faster than average, I start a little bit sooner. I mean, advantage pitcher, if I got to start sooner, I don't have as much time to recognize the pitch, the location, the type of pitch. Well, advantage him. That's what he gets for throwing so hard. We got to just deal with it. So a drill, I just like this simple drill. I called it fast, slow. Anyone I've ever done hitting lessons, probably, if you're out there now, you're saying, yeah, I remember Dave doing that with me. I lob it and then firm, and then lob it and then firm. And no, I'm not tricking them. I want them to know what is coming. I want them to have success. And I like that even with the Trenton Thunder players, because it simulates sitting on an off-speed pitch, and you have to practice it. You know, when to start your load, your hands, when to get the foot down, how to get a slow pitch out front, but not too far out front. And then firm. All right, what differences do I have to make? I better be short to the ball. I got to have enough courage to get out there on this pitch, because I'm vulnerable. If I'm going to start early, I'm vulnerable to looking pretty stupid if he tricks me, but it is what it is. Okay. Up close fastballs, more for a kid that's high school age and up. I'll make this quick. We got about 10 minutes left. Get up close. Got to be accurate. I was always very accurate. If you're not accurate, do not do this. Make sure the hitter's got a helmet on for sure. And get up 10, 15 feet and get behind that L screen and throw hard. It's uncomfortable for the hitter. He's going to look at you like you're crazy. How am I supposed to hit this? Keep doing it, and he will. He'll have to learn to start so early that he gets out on that ledge. There's a huge risk involved here. The risk is, if I do this in a game, yeah, I could hit that fastball that this guy has, but I'm done if he throws a changeup or slider or curve. You're teaching them how to take a chance. When you face that arm that dominates with his fastball, you can't look over at your dugout as a coach and say, all right, well, let's wave the white flag, we're done. And as an individual player, you can't just give up and say, coach, I pulled a hamstring. I don't think I should play today. I guess you could do that, but save some points on your batting average. But you need your team. Somebody's got to be willing to get up there and take a chance and start early and not let their brain go to, what if I look stupid? Because that does happen with a lot of people. All right, so try out that drill. Fielding, infield work. I love this drill. Obviously, you're going to take your routine ground balls and get your footwork and get your accuracy in your throwing in your hands. There are so many good coaches out there for infield, and they will teach you the proper way to do things. One drill that I brought home from Vero Beach, I've been doing that program for a long time. I work with hitting, outfielders, base running, but I always go out early and listen to the infield instructors and the catching instructors, and I bring that information home to whatever organization I'm with. The infield, I love this drill, creating a good hop. So there are two good hops. Young kids and parents might think there's only one good hop, a long hop. But if you've played the game on an advanced level, you'll know there's two good hops. A short hop is a good hop. If you're athletic, you're getting to the ball, and there's really not a big margin of error, of failure. It's bouncing right into your glove. So I love the drill of somebody hitting not with a machine, because it's going to create the same hop, but hitting with a fungo or a bat, different bounces, and move the infielder back, 40, 45 feet or more, and let them start to look at the ball coming off the bat and create one of the two good hops. You will be amazed at what you see, because they never thought of that. The younger ones, especially. They just thought, he hits it. When it gets to me, if it's a good hop, I'll grab it. If it isn't, I'll deal with it. No, use your feet. The best infielders at the major league level have excellent feet. Nobody thinks about it like that, but it's true. Let's see. Outfield. Outfielders, a 3-ball drill. I love the 3-ball drill. You can do it in different directions. So as a dad, you can do it in your yard. You can do it. Coaches can do it indoor in a facility. 3 baseballs in your hand. The outfielder is about 20 feet away from you. He's facing you. Again, you're not tricking him. You're not going to trick him. You might throw the first one straight up. He runs in. As he's catching it, you're launching the next one back. He has to drop his shoulder, whatever side you're throwing it, and he's catching that, and then back in. So it's in, back, in, or you could go back, in, back. It's just change of direction, quickness. These plays should be made one-handed. I know young coaches of younger kids are always saying 2 hands. 2 hands is good when you're underneath the ball, but it steals athleticism from the player. Whenever a player, infielder or outfielder, is on the run, make it a one-handed play. You can't run 2 hands, and you shouldn't be trying to catch it 2 hands. The catch is in rhythm, 1 hand. Underneath, 2 hands. You got to make a play, get behind it. Somebody's tagging up, come through it, 2 hands, quick exchange. There are some people that actually like that second hand to be lower to give you time for a transfer while you're doing your crow hop. That's for another day. And speaking of crow hop, indoor work, repetitions, there's a step through and there's a crow hop. Either one is fine. Just keep this in mind. No bouncing high in the air. Keep it low to the ground. You need some time for your crow hop or your step through, because that's allowing you to transfer the ball from the glove to get it out in your hand and get it up into throwing position. If you're too quick, it's like a shortstop or a second baseman turn in two. You'll have to double pump to let everything catch up. So that's a timing thing, but stay low to the ground. While you're taking that crow hop high in the air, the runner's at full speed. Okay, a few more things here. I like the creep drill on a machine. That could be for everybody. This is a reaction type drill. It can be dangerous, so you can't clown around on it. It's with a machine that's accurate, one player at a time. Start them at a certain distance away. The machine should be thrown pretty decent pace, okay? And you've controlled this machine to be down, not head high. But it's nice if you have one of the ATEC machines that you can kind of slide back and forth and change the direction. And the player's low to the ground, hands out front, and you're going to do a good 20 to 30 of these where he's going to feel some burning in his thighs because he's down. Hands got to be out front, and you put the ball in, and you might do 3 or 4 and say creep. He jumps a good step forward. Now he's closer to you. Get low to the ground. Boom! Again. You keep every 4 or 5 balls you say creep. And obviously, the age of the player and the talent of the player will dictate how hard you're putting the ball in the machine and how close he gets to you. I did this drill in the off season. I was an outfielder, but I wanted to field the ball like I was an infielder in the outfield. And at some point, about 10 years ago, somebody came to me and said that I was number 7 of all time in fielding percentage. And I thought, yes, because 2 of the guys that were ahead of me were still playing. And I thought, that's a good thing. They make one error, they'll fall behind me. Maybe I can get in the top 5. I always took pride in my defense. So, all right, we're winding down. Looks like we got about 5 minutes. Let me see if there's another question that I could take here. Let's see. How important is velocity throwing from the outfield? Well, it's pretty important to have a good arm, right? Good question, especially nowadays. Like all the showcases that the players go to now, they measure everything, and measurables are good. Measurables, the college coaches, I talk to them all the time about players. They now know, right? There's a lot of good things in analytics. I think sometimes it can get overblown. So what we don't want is, you don't want a player to go to a showcase and not be concerned about throwing through a cutoff man or a clean one hop to a target base, just getting velocity. Because the coaches that are trying to determine whether they want you or not, they don't want to spend a whole lot of time polishing you up. And not hitting a cutoff man will scare them, because they have pitchers who have good enough arms to get double plays, get ground balls. They have fielders that can turn too. So the damage is already done when a ball gets out to you as an outfielder. Do your job, get the ball clean, and get it into your cutoff man, through your cutoff man, and then walk back to your position. And your coach will trust you and put you in the lineup. You can hit a little bit. Let's see. My son has always been small for his age and has little power. Any words of encouragement? Yes. Jose Altuve. Well, look, it's true. Right now, it's not so much about height, but it is physical strength. You can be short, but be strong. And you don't really have a choice anymore. That's how much technology has advanced. I mean, players now are training for strength, conditioning, nutrition. And if you don't, you're falling behind them. So I encourage you, as we wind up here, I encourage you, please take advantage of this off season. You don't get it back, and they accumulate. So if you skip this year, well, I'm not into it. You know, I'm not really, I don't really want to do anything. I'll wait until the season rolls around. You never get that improvement time back with the indoor facilities. Okay. I will say, when I looked at the size at Centercourt, they can actually do fly balls in there. So we fall behind the warmer states, the southern states and out west. and of course, Dominican, right? Latin American countries, we're enough behind them because they're playing more games every year as we're growing up. We can catch up a little bit if you're dedicated enough and you have enough passion to want to put the time and effort in. Get to your indoor facilities. Do not neglect. If they have clinics, think of your whole game, all right? Maybe this would be a good thing to end with, speaking about, your whole game. I was not great at anything on a pro level. Okay, maybe in the area I was, really good at certain things when it came to comparing me kids in the neighborhood or kids in my league. But that was not my long-term goal. At 7 years old, I told people, anyone who wanted to listen, I'm going to play Major League Baseball someday. That was my goal. Was it realistic? Probably not. But I'm glad nobody, argued with me and told me that it wasn't realistic, because I always thought I could, and then I did. Okay, but I was on a pro level. I wasn't great at anything, but I was good at everything. I'll say it again. I wasn't great at anything, but I made sure I put the work in that I would be good at everything. I was a very good base runner, smart base runner. Okay. I was a very good defensive outfielder, and I was a 6'7" runner in college as a center fielder. Sounds great. That's not great on a pro level for a center fielder. There's guys that are 6'2", 6'3", 60s. That's flying. So how did I make that up? I got to be better than them on first step and angles, and I have to be equipped with knowledge on where to start, where to position myself. Frustrates me to see nowadays Major League outfielders between pitches or between hitters pulling an index card out of their back pocket and having a coach determine where they should stand for this batter. That makes zero sense to me, because there's a lot of nuances in the game. I know for me, sometimes I would pull a fastball and sometimes I went to the ballpark and I didn't feel good. I'm not going to go to the coach and say, take me out of the lineup. My bat was slow. I was sluggish. I'm not going to hit a 2-0 fastball the same way every time. So fielding is a lot of paying attention. But, my point to you to end is, all of you players and parents out there, if you're overweight or you're big and you're not a fast runner, then be a really good base runner. Be smart. Get good secondaries when you're on the big field, and take that base when the ball hits the dirt. Okay, if you're an outfielder that does not have a strong arm, get to the ball quick. Get rid of it quick to your cutoff man. Be accurate with your throws. If you're a hitter that doesn't have power, then you're going to help your team by getting on base. Know the strike zone. Use the whole field as a hitter. Okay, hit for high average. You have to figure out a way to help your team win if you want to be on a team. Use your offseason wisely. I'm imploring you, dads, coaches, take advantage of training. Don't blow it off. Okay, get to your facilities, hitting coaches, pitching coaches. One more thing, I didn't want to miss this. Do things that others don't want to do. I'll give you a couple. If you're a catcher and you tell me that you want to play this game a long time, well, you can't be a kid that might call me someday and say, would you mind calling this college coach on my behalf? Well, I know you as a player, but you're a catcher. You struggle a little bit defensively, and you didn't do anything in the offseason to make yourself better. If I'm a catcher and I'm passionate about playing the game and want to be as good as I can possibly be, do you know how many pitching coaches would love to have a live catcher catch their pitchers? And you're not going to be charged anything. In fact, I know some people that might pay you $10, but you're getting better. Ask if you can catch pitchers who are at least your age. Work on receiving the ball, framing, blocking. Nobody expects you to go 4 straight hours in your equipment without getting up and taking a break, but maybe you can do an hour's worth, and the coach will let you stand up. They talk a lot. All right. Do your failure. This is my point. Last point, I promise. Fail during the winter, as opposed to when you're doing tryouts in the spring. What I mean by that is every year I used to go, as a pro player, I used to go to Rider College in the off season. And I would ask Sonny Pitaro, who was the coach back then, do you mind if I work out with your players? And I would go 6 o'clock in the morning because that's when he had gym time, 6 days a week. And I would ask, can I go outside? I'd have a sweatshirt on and a hat, and I'd hit the outfielders' fly balls, and then one of them would hit me. And I would turn and run, take my eye off the ball, run back to where I thought it was going to be, look up, and it would land 10 feet behind me. And I would keep doing that. I wanted the failure to happen there, because a few weeks later, I'd turn my head, run back, and there's the ball in my path. It just took time and a lot of fly balls. Now I get to spring training and I'm trying to make a team, and I'm out playing everybody. So that's my point. Don't be afraid to put yourself out there. Hitters stand in when the pitcher is pitching in the wintertime. Get the feel of what a breaking ball looks like, how to have that weight on the balls of your feet, not flat-footed or leaning back when he throws you a breaking ball. These are things that others are not willing to do, but if you're passionate, you are. All right, guys, thank you so much. I hope you enjoyed it. And listen, since you all registered, we will do our next one in January, probably middle of the month. Enjoy your holidays, and let's go watch some football. Signing off, guys. Take care.